Your business will only grow to the level which you grow. And that is exactly what we are discussing today. Welcome back to the Art of Virtual Assisting with me, Stephanie Lopepe, your host and the founder of Virtually Steph. So today we are diving back into our framework, the 5WNH framework. And the last W is what's possible, right? We will discuss the growth stages of virtual assisting, from just doing tasks to managing teams to implementing system and becoming a true business partner to your clients. So I like to categorize the stages of virtual assisting into four. The first stage is the task-based virtual assistant. And for me, that was my year one of Virtually Steph, where I would just be completing tasks, be given tasks, have a to-do list, complete that task and move on to the best task, right? So, and that is just a to-do list. And that is the basics of virtual assisting, is a client gives you a to-do list and you complete that to-do list, right? However, that is just the beginner stage of virtual assisting. You can grow from that, right? So you use that stage to gain confidence, to have a proof of concept, and you kind of figure out what are you really good at, right? So everyone starts here. No virtual assistant just jumps off into managing teams. You have to start at the basics, and that's when you are a task-based virtual assistant. Then stage two, you become a strategist. So now you are a result-based virtual assistant. And for me, that was the turning point of Virtually Steph, right? Year two of my business, I landed my first coaching client. And that's where I realized that I could do more than just a to-do list. I could actually draft a strategy, implement that strategy, and have results based on that strategy. So here, everything shifted. So my work included developing organic marketing strategies. From the previous discussions we've had, I had said that my coaching client had left a marketing agency and took on a freelancer, which is me, a one-man show. And that meant that we had to start everything from scratch, everything from the basics, right? We implemented new organic marketing strategies. We also improved her response rate. When you are a coach, right, your responses to potential clients could either be automated or you could have somebody assisting you to respond manually. So for us, before we automated anything, before we got into paid ads, we wanted to do things first organically. So we moved on from organic marketing strategies then to a better response rate with the emails. And that helped her make money. Because the moment people are inquiring of your services, if you delay in the response, they could have changed their mind or they could have gone to another service provider. So we improved that, right? The next thing that we did is we worked on pricing structure, right? What will be the pricing with the coaching programs? What is the pricing with one-on-one coaching? What is the pricing with any of the pre-recorded courses that we were trying to implement? All of that was something we had to find a strategy, do the research, and implement that strategy. And with that, how I knew it worked is because we had different things we were doing, would implement different things, right? That is what a strategy does. A strategist does, right? You research, you formulate, you implement, and then you assess what is working, what is not working, right? And how I knew I'm no longer a task-based virtual assistant, it was the transformation with the strategies that we implemented. I was so excited when my client revealed that with me on her team, she made 20 times more when she was with me than she was with the previous agency. So that means the strategies that we implemented was working. We also sold out on all her courses, all her coaching programs. We sold out organically. She had to reprint some of her books after a successful podcast appearance, right? And she grew a business organically. We currently are implementing paid ads with another service provider. But before we implemented paid ad, we wanted to know, can we really do this on our own? And we did, right? So that's what a strategist does. You know what is happening. You do the research, you draft the strategy, you develop the strategy, you implement the strategy, and then you assess what is working. And we assess that organically we are able to do what we can. We are able to implement a strategy and have results. When your work for your clients start generating real income and transformation, that's when you know you are no longer a virtual assistant. You are now a strategist. Okay, so let's take a look at stage 3, right? So we started with being a task-based virtual assistant, being a strategist. Now we are doing implementing systems and managing teams, right? So that is year 3 of Virtually Steph. And I was so excited, right? When I no longer was just a one-man show, a client saw value in my work and decided to put me on board where I could manage teams, implement systems. We have strategies we're putting in place. Then I'm like, listen, yeah, I'm working a real job. Okay. And sometimes we limit ourselves, right? We limit ourselves. Like, you're not just taking off things off the list. You're actually helping somebody make real money, be impactful, and be transformational. And that is the stage 3, systems and a team manager. So in here, these are the things you are doing. You are implementing systems. And like I said previously, before implementing system, you need to assess what is the problem, what is the solution that we can have, and can we implement that solution? And implementing solutions, you are implementing systems. You are also managing teams. So at this stage, you could probably have a client that is managing more than 5 employees, 10 employees, 30 employees. And those employees, depending on what your role is on that team, you have a particular group of people you need to manage. So you see, you are no longer task-based. You are now a team manager, right? And another thing at this stage, you are coordinating. You're coordinating and you're having real deliverables. When you are at the first stage, you are having a to-do list, right? But at this stage, you are now having deliverables. You have deadlines, you are speaking to suppliers, etc., etc. Now you see your role is increasing, right? And here you're also fixing workflows, right? When you're putting in a system, or when you're trying to implement a new structure, you are putting in workflows for your client, right? So technically here is the bridge between a strategist and an operations person, right? Because now you're having workflows, you're having systems that you're putting in place. And here you're not just managing systems, you're also managing people, right? And it requires you to have some form of maturity, like maturity, professionalism, and you need to be able to communicate in order to succeed at stage 3. And now you're going into stage 4, my favorite stage and my current stage. Yeah. So here we can consider you to either be a business manager or an operations manager, right? So you wouldn't know whether you will succeed in this stage if you have not gone through the other 3 stages, right? So on this stage, yeah, you are eventually shifting your role. And a lot of VAs, that is the goal. Our goal is not just stay, have a to-do list. No, our goal is to grow into operations, is to go into business management. And here you are a specialist. You are no longer a generalist. And here you can charge more, you can have more impact, and you can reduce the number of clients you have because the responsibility is a lot more, right? So how do we know when to scale and when to niche further? Such a tricky subject because I still can't figure it out, but I always differentiate between the two, right? Scaling for me is not necessary to have more clients. No. Scaling for me is the impact that you're having in your client's business. Because when you are just having a to-do list, right, the impact is you're completing task and then you move on. But when your work is transformational, right? Your work is impactful, then you're scaled up, right? Because your client's profits, your client's workflow is directly linked to the work that you are doing for them. Figuring out how to niche down is a bit tricky, right? For me, I niched down because my client had a need, right? So I would do everything. I would do admin, I would do events, I would do project management. But when my client needs grew bigger, my niche like narrowed, right? So you got to figure out, are you going to stay as a journalist? You just have a to-do list, or are you going to become an expert where you have a specific field where you are good at, where like no one can beat you at, right? I always say admin is my thing, but I also realize there's part of operations, there's part of management that I can go in and specialize in it. And that is niching down, right? So how do we do this? Because what I'm talking about is a lot. How do we do this? I began to say that your business will only grow to the level which you grow. And that is the same thing here. Your personal development is directly linked to your business growth. Right. Stephanie Lopepe was meant to be 5 years old, but it's only 3 years old because I delayed it by 2 years. I delayed it by 2 years out of fear, out of doubt, out of imposter syndrome, out of many reasons, right? And to be successful as a virtual assistant, you need to do the inner work, right? You cannot just magically become this confident person. You have to do the work. Why? Because if you don't do the work, it will be reflected in your prices, right? It will be reflected in how you communicate with your clients. It will be reflected in how you dream big, right? It will be reflected in the results of which you bring to the table. So your personal development is very important. Sometimes we just rush into, oh, these are the skills that I must have. You may have all the skills in the world. You may have all the tools in the world, but if you do not do the inner work, you will not grow into a bigger level in this industry. So I will encourage you to take your personal development seriously. I'm a believer, so my personal development is tightly linked to my faith, right? So my confidence, how my emotional maturity levels are, how I learn to serve others in a healthy manner, how I have boundaries, all these things, they're all tied to my personal development. And I knew for me to grow virtually, Steph, I had to do the inner work. And that is my encouragement for you. For you to grow as a virtual assistant, you got to make sure that inside is well taken care of because it to be reflected on how you show up in your business. As we conclude today's discussion, I want us to go into a virtual assistant inside segment. Okay. And today's question is, should I register my business or stay freelancing? Wow. Listen, there's many conflicting advice when it comes to this question, right? So a lot of Western virtual assistants say yes, you need to register your virtual assistant business first. I think Americans call it LLC, right? So it just depends on what region you're in. But for my side, I would take one of my favorite business strategist advice. Her name is Michelle Expert. She always say you can register your business if you do not have your first sale. Right? Because what are you registering, right? You could change your mind tomorrow. Do you mean you have to register another business, right? So my advice is get your first 3 clients, right? Have a proof of concept, like understand what is happening, understand what is your pricing, how much money you would make. Because once you register, you are liable to SARS, you are liable to SIP, you are liable with your business account fees. It's a lot of fees that you're accumulating before you make your first sale. right? So you are freelancing, you can still use your personal accounts, your personal banking accounts. You can still use your name for your business, whatever it is, but get your first 3 clients, right? So from there, you have enough revenue to know whether or not this is the field you want to do or whether or not this is the work you want to do, right? So don't rush into registration first. Earn your first clients. Do you have 3 clients on your books, right? How much are you charging those clients? How much money are you making? If you are making more money or equivalent money that you would have made in the corporate space, then yeah, register your business. Because maybe you want to work with bigger clients. Maybe you want to work with corporate clients. Maybe you want to work with multimillionaires. And those people usually work with service providers that have all their documentation in order. So registration of your business will just depend on how much revenue you're currently making. Okay, we spoke about a lot today. So please share in the comments what is your takeaway today. And what is possible for you as a virtual assistant is what I want you to take home. I want you to do this homework. Write down, I want to become a virtual assistant. What is possible for me? Is becoming an operations manager a possibility? Is becoming a strategist a possibility? Or if moving into another industry a possibility for you? So make that homework. Always map out before you reach out to clients. Like, what is the possibility? Where do I see myself in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 2 years, and then take it from there. So yeah, currently like, subscribe, do the things, guys. I want to hear from you in the comments. Until next time, bye.